Hey guys, so this is the story of how I broke my wrist. So I was playing soccer and I fell backwards with my hands outstretched behind me. I felt this really sharp pain through my wrist and my whole wrist kind of went limp and I had to kind of hold it up straight and it was really throbbing almost. It hurt really bad, but I continued to play and didn't tell my coach about it and I got knocked forward and fell with my hands outstretched, which normally would be fine, but my wrist was already so weak, it bent under the weight of me because it was still in pain and pretty weak, which just made the pain even worse. And that was a pretty sharp pain, and I just collapsed because my wrist wasn't strong enough. For the rest of practice, the pain never went away, but it did get a little less painful, but I could still feel the hurt. So I went a few days with my wrist in pain, hoping it'll be okay in a few days, but it wasn't, and the pain just wasn't really getting much better. When I was just sitting down, it would still be a sharp pain, or sometimes it would just be really achy, and yeah. So then I ended up going to the doctor, or my parents forced me to, because it wasn't getting much better and was still pretty painful. So this is me at the doctor waiting to get x-rays, and I didn't know what happened yet. Then this is when I got the x-rays. The doctor still hadn't come in yet, and I didn't know what was wrong. The doctor said it was just a sprain, and everything looked fine, and that I would have a follow-up appointment with a wrist specialist, the next week. But things didn't go according to plan, and we got a call from the doctor's office the following day. They said that the radiologist had reviewed the x-rays and saw a fracture in the growth plate. As you can see, there's a widening in the growth plate, which shows that I cut right through the bone, or there's a fracture right through that bone. So I got my wrist splinted, and as you can see, this is the splint. They did not put a cast on because I was going to Mexico in the following week, and apparently your limbs in general can get swollen on planes in a cast. You can't really cut it off or loosen it on a plane, but in a splint you can kind of loosen the bandaging in case it gets a little swollen. So that's why they did a splint rather than a cast right away. So then unfortunately I had to have the splint on in Mexico, and it couldn't get wet, but my dad found this really good cover or / bag on Amazon that worked really well, and I could go swimming and it didn't let any water in, which was really impressive. So then when I got back, I got the cast and I chose the color sky blue. As you can see, this is the cast. So a lot of you are probably wondering about the process of the cast. I didn't film it, but this is something I found online. So they put on the stocking, as you can see, to kind of protect your arm from all the stuff they're going to put on. Then they put on some padding that's just white. It's like cottony kind of. And then they dip the color wrap you want, in this water or solution so it hardens after a little while, and they wrap it, and then they pull the stocking over it, and they go for a second layer. So then this is them doing the second layer, wrapping it relatively tight so it's pretty snug on your arm. So as you can see, they're just wrapping it. So this is the same process they used for mine, and mine turned out like this. So I also want to talk about what the pain was like throughout my whole injury. So when I took my first fall, the initial injury, it was a sharp, powerful pain that forced my hand to kind of go numb, so I couldn't really move my wrist or my hand because it was limp, basically. And it was pretty painful. It brought tears to my eyes, even though I didn't cry. And then after the second fall, I kind of fell like a fish almost on the ground and belly flopped kind of because my arm broke out from under me, and that pain was also sharp and really hurt and brought almost tears to my eyes again, but I still didn't cry. And that hurt pretty bad too, and that made just the pain more of a constant, powerful pain. And then in the following days, it would kind of just be really achy and hurting. It wasn't sharp pains. It was just hurting almost all the time, even if I was just sitting down, not doing anything. In those days, I was icing it and stuff. And then after that, when I got it splinted, the pain got a little better. But sometimes when I would grab something, I would still feel the pain, or a sharp pain or an ache, or just from it being splinted, sometimes it'd just be achy almost. Then when I got the cast, I haven't had very much pain, except for some achiness, which I think is just from not moving my whole arm for a long time. which I'll have the cast on for 6 to 8 weeks, and it's already been about 3, so hopefully only 3 more weeks. But right now, it's not really painful after you get the cast on for the most part, which is nice. So having a cast is not very fun, if I'm going to be honest. So every time I have to shower or anything, I have to wear this blue plastic bag thing over my arm because I can't get my cast wet at all, or that would be pretty bad and I have to go get a new one because it breaks down. It's just not waterproof. So that's pretty annoying. So I only shower with one hand. I can only really use one hand. Plus, I can only hold things up to 1 pound and I can't push or pull anything. 1 pound is about the equivalent to a phone. So imagine I can't really hold anything more than a phone, which is pretty hard. I only really have one functioning hand right now. Plus, having cast on can get pretty itchy sometimes, and you can't itch your arm at all because you really can't even feel your fingers on the cast, and you can't really stick your fingers that far into the cast. Plus, right now, my skin is pretty dry. I think it's because my splint covered more skin than my cast is, so it's kind of like flaky almost. I've used lots of lotion, so it's better now, but it is pretty dry, and it's just has dead skin, which I can't imagine how bad the dead skin will be after I get the cast off. It'll be pretty rough. Plus, having cast on limits you from doing lots of things. I can't play soccer anymore because of the risk of falling on it. And if I fall on it and injure the growth plate more, one hand might be shorter than the other, or one arm will be longer and the one I injured will be shorter, which would be bad. And I just can't really put any weight on it, so I can't do anything on my hands, really. I also cannot participate in PE, so I just have to read articles about PE for the length of PE and take quizzes on the articles, which is pretty annoying and not as fun as it is to participate in PE. I don't even get a study hall. And then I also want to answer the question of what does a cast really feel like on? So it kind of just feels like a tight / snug glove almost. I can't really bend my wrist at all, and I don't have very much mobility in the bottom half of my arm, and it keeps your thumb separated from the rest of your hand, so it's kind of weird over there in that sense. It's also very hard, so if you slightly punch your arm, it doesn't even really hurt. You don't feel it on your skin at all. You kind of feel the cast vibrating a little bit, but that's it, which is kind of cool, I guess. But other than that, having a cast pretty much sucks, and I don't appreciate it. And it gets kind of annoying, or sometimes it'll just get achy because you can't move your arm. So you know that feeling when you don't exercise or you exercise too much and your legs are achy? I've gotten that in my arm before because it just hasn't moved in so long. And you're stuck with this thing on your arm that's pretty annoying for a long period of time. So I have this cast on for 6 to 8 weeks, and it's only really been 3 weeks. So I have at least 3 more weeks to go, which is pretty rough, and I'm already getting annoyed by it. I want to take it off right now, TBH. Lastly, I would like to give a shout out to Brad Y for inspiring me to make this video, and he wanted a shout out. So here's your shout out, Brad Y. Thank you for giving me the idea to make this video. And then you also wanted me to sign your name on my cast, so I'll do that right now. So Brad, this is me writing your name on my cast. You get the honor of being my first signature on my cast, so there you go, Brad. I just got the cast, so I haven't really had a chance to get any signatures, and I kind of need to get a Sharpie. That's why I'm using this marker, but yeah. And there you go. Thank you for watching, and I hope you don't want to cast anymore, Brad. It's not the best thing for many reasons, as I explained. Bye, guys!